Another week, another list. Gem Mint from Gem Mint Collectibles, broadcasting from somewhere on Spaceship Earth. How you feeling, brother?
New set, who this?
Hit that subscribe button. We're here every 7 days covering the status, the health of the comic book marketplace. And at the list at number 10, Robbie Reyes is leading it with all new Ghost Rider #1, debuting in 2014.
The first appearance and origin of Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider. He's the one that drives the 69 Charger, and there isn't any new news on Robbie Reyes, except for the year-old tweet of Boss Logic championing Gabriel Luna to reprise his role.
So much spec on Ghost Rider, the macabre, the supernatural, and this is a prominent member of the Jason Aaron Avengers team. He debuted on screen during Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., portrayed by Gabriel Luna, as Jem just mentioned, and is one of the main characters in the now 1 week since released new Marvel game, Midnight Suns. Let's look at the numbers.
The CGC census shows us 725 copies of this book graded. We have 2 7.0s, 21 9.0s, 48 9.2s, and 96 9.4s. Now, that 9.4 sold for $153, which is 46% above its 12-month average.
The 9.6, in which there are 229 copies, sold for $169 this past week, 34% over its recent 12-month average. But keep this in mind, this book sold at a height of $253 just February of this year. The book is down.
So is the 9.8. There are 300 of them on the CGC census, and the record high was in February of this year, where it sold for $600, but the last sale in November puts it at $325.
Let's take a look at the Trad Moore variant, easily the most sought-out-after variant of this issue. The 9.6 has sold twice this year, one in January for $600, another in June for $1,800.
There have been 5 sales in 9.8 this year, and it's reached heights of $2,500, but it's been downhill ever since, selling last for $1,500, less than the 9.6.
That happened in November. This may be one of the best times to secure a copy of all new Ghost Rider #1. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below while we talk about number 9 on the list, New Mutants '98, debuting in 1991. Rob Liefeld, goodness, the first appearance of Deadpool since the Wolverine Deadpool announcement for Deadpool 3. This book has been hot as hell, and members have been shipping their copies to CGC in mass.
This book has been no stranger to the list. This marks the 6th time it's made the list since the Deadpool 3 announcement at the end of September. And what's more impressive than the strong sales we're about to report on is how many new copies were added to the CGC census. This book has a total of 21,989 slabs, and that's 394 more than when this made number 9 on the HOT10 on October 24th, just 7 weeks ago.
So many books were just added to the census, and the majority of which are all high grade. The 9.0 just clocked in 38 additional copies. The 9.2, 61. 9.4, 77. 9.6, 74. And 9.8 has 38 new copies registered on the census. The book is hot because it's selling in mass, but the overall price has come down just a little bit because there's more in existence. The supply is heavy.
The 8.0 is staying on track with its 12-month average, selling for $350, still 4% up, and the 8.5 sold for $403, 20% above its 12-month average.
We saw a sale this past week of $1,740 for a 9.8. That's 3% over its recent 12-month average. When this news initially dropped, 9.8s were averaging over 12 months around the $1,750 marker. Seeing it dip below $1,700 over the last couple weeks has to be because of that increased census count. Next at the list,
number 8.
Fantastic Four 53. We have the second appearance of T'Challa, the Black Panther.
It's also the first appearance of Claw, shout out Andy Serkis, but I doubt we'll see Claw in the MCU anytime soon. He was killed off by Killmonger in the Black Panther movie. Now, they did bring him back in episode 6 of What If, but he was killed off by Killmonger again.
Maybe one of the only characters to be killed off by the same character more than once in the MCU. I digress. We have a record-breaking sale to discuss, as well as multiple grade points trending upwards. We have an 8.5 selling for $600 this week, which is 11% over its recent 12 months, and the 9.2 selling for $11.69, 2% over its recent 12 months. This is post Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Traditionally, we'd see some keys like this start to dip. It's not happening with the second appearance of Black Panther.
The 9.6 broke record. It sold for $2,788 in 2020, and it's up 29% now, selling for $3,600.
It's probably because of the low census count why this book is retaining its value. There are only 3 9.8s, and the last time one sold was back in 2017 for $12,070. So we look at the 9.6, in which there are 18 copies, likely why we saw a monster record breaker this week.
Moving from one Disney property to the next, number 7 on the list, we have Star Wars, issue number 1 from 1977, the first appearance of everybody.
Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, C-3PO, R2-D2, the Stormtroopers, the first adaptation of Star Wars 1, A New Hope. This is a major key that we've only talked in 2022 twice about. Literally. On the Hot 10, this book has only made it 2 different times. Jem, how many times were we talking Star Wars books 2021, 2020?
Yeah, between Ahsoka Tano and Grand Admiral Thrawn, it seemed like they were on the list every week.
Andor on Disney Plus is getting great reviews, but it's more adult themed. And I think that's why it hasn't had its same type of reach we've seen other series. With Mandalorian Season 3 debuting in March of this next year, this down market may be an optimal time to scoop up Star Wars keys.
I think collectors are agreeing with you, Tom, because we have 5 different grade points to discuss, including a Whitman reprint, which saw its first recorded sale. The Whitman reprint has the diamond-shaped 35-cent corner box with no UPC. That 7.5 sold for $194, setting the bar in that grade.
So the reprint is hitting $194. We have a 7.5 standard edition that sold for $268, 5% over its recent 12 months. The 8.0 sold for $305, 4% over its recent 12 months.
Shout out to Miami. We have a CGC 8.5 that sold for $335, 3% above its 12-month average, and a 9.2 that sold for $510, right at about that average, 1% higher.
The 9.8 for Star Wars #1 is down by more than half right now. Early April this year, we had a sale for $9,600 for that 9.8. December, a recent 9.8 just sold for $4,560, and we have months until the next big Star Wars anything. Keep an eye out on all your Star Wars books.
Moving on to number 6 on the list, I'm interested to see how this book has been faring since earlier this year. We have Incredible Hulk 181, the first full appearance of Wolverine.
Easily the #1 wanted Bronze Age key comic with multiple grade points trending up. However, in a buyer's market, is this a time to consider grabbing a first Wolvie? Let's take a look at the numbers. 2.0 selling for $2,500 is 4% over its recent 12 months. The 5.0 selling for $4,320 is 2% over. And then the 6.0 selling for $5,250 is 6% over its recent 12-month average.
So the mid to lower grades seem to be sticking around that 12-month average, and you'll hear seasoned collectors say that this is not a scarce book by any means. There are 12,963 total slabs on the CGC census. Let's take a look at that 9.6, of which there are 347. The last recorded sale was $29,268 in September of this year. Just about 8 to 9 months earlier, it sold for $36,000.
The 9.8, in which there are 137 copies, has a record high set in September prior to the Deadpool 3 announcement, selling for $138,000. Now, we've mentioned multiple times on this show about this book in particular, the printing matters, and I do not have pictures of both of these books to compare, but the last GPA sale happened this month, December 2022, for $90,000.
Those reds gotta be vibrant. Before we move on to the next one on the list, today is the last day to sign up for the mystery mail call.
We teamed up with Peach Momoka to do a 1 per box exclusive featuring Demon Wars Shield of Justice, as well as David Mack on a Ninja Funk #1. We made trade dresses, virgins, foils, and medals are all going out at random. Last but not least, everybody gets a 3rd exclusive guaranteed. We have a Johnny the Homicidal Maniac homage on Mr. Easta #1 done by cover artist Nate Johnson. ComicTom101.com to join the community. Support this show and give me an excuse to send you comics every single month. Next at the list, at number 5, Avengers 144. We're talking Patsy Walker again.
Making the list for the second time in a row, last week it had 6 sales, performing stronger than its 12-month average. This is the issue where Patsy Walker becomes Hellcat.
Hellcat series will begin early next year, and with the success of Iron Man leading into this series that's going to focus on this character, members are excited, but I'm a little shocked about how excited they are, which is pushing them to purchase this key comic book that is pretty scarce and high grade.
Collectors must know something that we don't know, because I'm not sure why this book is hot. Yeah, she's got her own miniseries coming out. We've seen Patsy Walker in live action during the Marvel Netflix era. Will we see her in the MCU? Time will tell on that. There are 850 slabs on the CGC census, which includes two 1.5s. You got 103 9.0s, 120 9.2s, 141 9.4s, and 103 9.6s.
Only 23 9.8s. And when one comes up to market, people have to be ready for it because it typically only comes up once a year. The high selling copy was back in November 2018 for 1,900. That was the record. The most recent sale was in July of this year for 1,440.
We've got a strong performer and a record breaker. We'll start with the 7.5, selling for $86, 15% above its 12-month average. And then we have a 9.4, last selling for $375 back in 2015, up 21%. First, it sold for $399, then sold for an all-time record high of $455.
And now we're at the list at number 4, the first appearance of Lobo in Omega Men issue number 3. More news seemingly in favor of this character, but not to the current status quo of the JLA. We're hearing rumors this week that Jason Momoa may be quitting his role as Aquaman to do something else in the DCU.
What we do know is that DC has scrapped Wonder Woman 3, and James Gunn stated that Superman will be playing a prominent role in the DCEU. Will this make room for Jason Momoa's Lobo? Again, time will tell, but we have a ton of strong performers to report on. Before we get into that, this is also not a scarce book by any means. 7,665 slabs on the census, and that's 29 more since it hit number 3 on our November 28th Hot 10.
And so many of these upticks were in high grade. The 9.0 has 2 more. The 9.2, 2 more. 9.45 more. 9.6, there are 2,168 copies that exist, 10 of which are brand new in the last couple weeks. The 9.8 had 8 additional copies added, making the total count 2,603. The 8.0 has been selling for $85, 20% over its recent 12 months. And the 9.0 can't keep up. It's also trending at the same amount, selling for $85, an increase of 5%. This book is on the upswing.
The 9.2 selling for $115. That's 31% above its 12-month average. And the 9.4 can't keep up, also selling for $115, which is still 19% above its 12-month average.
The 9.6 selling for $230 is 67% over the recent 12 months, where it was selling for comfortably under $200 all year. And then we have the 9.8, in which there are a lot of copies that exist, seeing a 21% increase, selling for $385. Let us know what you think about this Lobo spec in the comment section below. And we'll take you to number 3 on the list with House of Secrets 92, the first appearance of Swamp Thing, debuting in 1971.
Man, what a banger list of fan favorite characters and their first appearances. Now, no new news for Swamp Thing. There's been a lot of love for Man-Thing this year. The fact that DC keys have been severely undervalued, and the fact that James Gunn likes to play with the horror elements. Who better than Swamp Thing?
Some would even say he has his roots in horror. We have a 1.5, last selling for $515 in November 2020. That was a complete copy. But this past week, we had an incomplete copy sell for $620. That's an increase of 20%. And that incomplete copy was missing a coupon.
That didn't stop that record-breaking sale. And then the other end of the spectrum, we've got a CGC 9.2, which last sold in 2021 for $8,500, up 6% now, selling for $9,000.
Woo, an increase from 2021. Haven't heard a sale like that in quite some time. We have a 6.0 selling for $1,700 this week, 2% over its recent 12 months, and the 7.0 selling for $2,280. More of the same, 1% over its recent 12 months. The Swamp Thing show was just ahead of its time. You know, 2019 was an interesting year. We had HBO Max about to acquire the DC app when this show debuted. The 10 episodes were great. It was scary. It was horrific. It was definitely something that I think that if it landed now on HBO Max, it would do quite well.
Moving on to number 2, we have a magazine who has been no stranger to this list. It's the godfather of comic book magazines by the Toddfather, Wizard #1 from 1991.
And we have the first sale to report on of a 9.8 standard copy today. Cover art done by Todd McFarlane. We have one of the most respected collectors magazines in existence, getting more love this year than ever in comic history. And we have a total of 204 slabs on the census, 28 more since when we chatted about this last mid-November, where it ranked #1 on the Hot 10.
There are 9 CGC 9.8s on the census, which is 3 more than the last time that we reported. But get this, I think a couple of people might have seen our video. There are 10 more copies of the San Diego Comic-Con variant, now showing 13 on the census.
An 8.0 sold this past week, last selling for $50 in 2019, up 216%, selling for $158. The last 8.5 to sell was in February of this year for $158. We saw a copy sell for $218. That's an increase of 38%. And then we have the first ever 9.8 standard Wizard Magazine #1 sale that took place this past week, selling for $3,750. Hot damn, comic fam. Jem, as it pertains to this book, how does that sale feel? Because the only thing we have to compare it to is the San Diego Comic-Con variant.
It makes sense to me that the regular version would go for less than the more scarce San Diego Comic-Con variant, but there are less 9.8s of the regular copy on the census.
And that brings us to the #1 hottest book in the world. Slap that like button, hit the subscribe button. We're here every week for the comic fam. We have, debuting in 1968, Iron Man #1, the premiere issue. Could it be true, Jem, that we may see a reprisal of Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. in the MCU?
With so many new faces introduced into Marvel's Phase 4, it would make sense to bring back someone familiar, and with the multiverse, anything is possible.
It doesn't seem as cohesive of a phase, you know? Things aren't really mingling like they did in prior eras. Could we see a reprisal of Robert Downey Jr.? A-list actors could bring the attention needed to make these blockbuster movies flourish like they used to. We have multiple grade points to report on. A 1.8, seeing a record-breaking sale, selling last in January for $260, up 46%, now selling for $379.
The 1.5 sold for $350, 12% above its 12-month average. The 3.5 sold for $500, 5% above its 12-month average, just like the 5.5, which sold for $775, again, 5% up.
The 6.5 sold for $960, 7% over its recent 12 months. The 7.5 sold for $1,260, 1% over its recent 12 months. And the 8.0 sold for $1,799. That's 8% over its recent 12 months. And it didn't stop there. Let's get Tony Stark's first appearance in TOS 39 on the screen. We saw a record-breaking sale, last selling in 2019 for a 9.0, $52,800 for an increase of 48% with an all-new high of $78,000. Can I get a hot damn in the chat?
It's a common trope in comic books that characters never really stay dead.
Robert Downey Jr. even went on Joe Rogan and was asked directly about rejoining the cast. And he asked if it wouldn't just be a cheap move, in which Joe Rogan responded with, hey, if the movies are dipping as bad as they would need to, can't you imagine them giving you a call? It got a laugh, but these sales are making me feel like the community is starting to bet that that may happen. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And as always,
geek responsibly and stay minty fresh.
Enough said. Join myself and Jem Mint on the best new place to buy and sell collectibles. It's called Whatnot, and we do dollar start auctions that last as little as 15 seconds long. We also do a lot of giveaways, Jem, and the new update just turned the giveaway into a timed giveaway, which means when there's a giveaway done, it's over in a maximum 5 minutes.
Long are the days where somebody lets a giveaway sit for 30 minutes. If you pin a giveaway, you got 5 minutes to draw that winner.
Sounds like the giveaways are about to get cranked up. Follow both Jem and myself. Links are in the description. And take a look at these 2 other videos. What made them for you? Have a great week.